Okay, so now we need to solve this problem. We need to output the team, the actual team, and the date. The thing is that inside the article we don't have the name of the team. We just have an ID. So pretty much what we need to do, we need to create a component that is going to be passing the list of all the teams in the NBA, the ID of this particular team, and then of course the date. Now, we don't have this right now. We don't have the list of the teams. We are not fetching the list of the teams, and we have it inside the db.json. So what we're going to do, we're going to fetch the list of teams first. So I'm going to go to request, and we could do it from here. We could do this in a different way, but I'm just going to do it just like this. So right here, whenever this application starts, we're going to run this request. And we need to fetch the list of teams only once. So I'm going to say this.state.teams. It's going to be called length. I'm going to be checking the length right here. So the length, we're going to be checking if it's less than 1. Now, if we do have information inside this.state.teams, we are not going to make the request. So we don't make the request twice. We're only going to do it once. We don't have this state right now. I'm going to go at the top. And I'm going to say teams is going to be equal to an array. And right here, I'm going to do the actual request. So it's going to be Axios, then get, open and close. And I'm going to use template strings. I'm going to open and close and say URL. Now we're going to be fetching from from teams. If you remember, inside the localhost right here, let me just scroll. We have teams 3004 and teams. So what we need to do, we're going to get a promise. So we're going to say then, just like before, then open and close, and we're going to get a response. And with this response, we're going to be updating the state. So I'm going to go right here and say this, that's set state, open and close. And then we say teams and response dot data, just like that. Okay, so this one is going to be updating the teams, so we should be getting the teams. I'm going to go right here at the bottom, and inside the render, we're just going to console log the teams, just to make sure that we are getting the teams. This.state.teams. All right. Okay, so we get a list of all the teams. Okay, so I'm going to delete this because we are getting it. And now what we need to do, we need to create a component that is going to be receiving the list of all the teams. It's going to be receiving the team ID, and then it's going to try to find a match. I don't know why that is jumping. I don't know why, but that's fine. So we're going to have a card. How are we going to call it? Card info. Makes sense? Card info. Like I told before, the hardest thing about doing this is what name each component. So this card info, of course, we get an error message because it doesn't exist, but we're going to create it right now. Now, if you remember this card info, we're going to have it on different components. So it's a good idea to make it a reusable component. So I'm going to go to widgets and create this component. I'm going to create a new folder that is going to be called, card info. Makes sense? Card info. And then I'm going to create a file inside. That is going to be called card info, of course, cardinfo.js. So the main job of this card info is going to be grabbing all the props and and finding the team. So right from the start, we need to import React from React, and this one is going to be a stateless component. There's no need to use a class-based component. It's going to be from and then React. And then we need to import, and we're going to be using Font Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring Font Awesome. And it's going to be from, and then I believe it's React, and then Font Awesome. Good. So now we need to create this component. It's going to be called card info, and it's going to be equal to a function, and this function is going to receive some props. Now this function is going to return some JSX. So I'm going to say return, open and close, and for now we're just going to say card info. And then of course we need to export default and then card info. Right, everything looks nice. So, okay, so first we need to import this inside this component. I'm going to go right here at the bottom. I'm going to say import and then card info from open and close dot forward slash, and it's going to be inside, let me check, inside widgets forward slash card info forward slash and card info. So at least we should be getting some text inside and not an error message. Okay, so we get card info. That's good. So I'm going to go back to card info, and we need to start making all the logic and adding the styles and everything else. Okay. So first I'm going to do, I'm going to add a class name to this container. It's going to be class name, and it's going to be equal to styles and then card info. Makes sense. Inside we're going to have a span with the name of the team after we find it. So it's going to be a span. I'm going to add a class name, and the class name is going to be styles dot team name. And right here we're going to have, I don't know, the name of the team, Cavaliers, whatever. Okay, so after the span, what we can have is the date. So I'm going to say span, a new span, and I'm going to be adding a class name for the date, and this one is going to be called styles.date. I know that this is the boring part of this, but we need to do it. I'm going to bring font awesome, and I'm going to bring an icon that is going to be a clock. With font awesome, we have a calendar. Makes more sense than a clock, but the icon of calendar, it's really, really ugly. I don't like it. So what we're going to be doing right here, we're going to output a date, whatever date, doesn't matter for now. So okay, so styles is not defined, so we need to create the styles for this. So I'm going to go to card info and create card info.css. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to import it, of course, just like before, import styles from and then // and card info.css. Same thing we did before a million times. Okay, so we get something. It's really, really, really ugly, but we get it. I'm going to go to card info and I'm going to be adding the styles. I'm going to use just a couple. So first is going to be the card info, which is the actual container. And we're going to be adding some, the font size. We're going to change the font size, and it's going to be equal to 11 pixels, something really small. Then we are going to add a style for the card info, and the I, which is the icon, is going to be margin right. And we're going to be adding 5 pixels. Okay, so then I'm going to do a team name. I believe we have a team name right here, which is the name of the team. I'm just going to copy this one and paste it down here. And this one, we're going to have a margin right of 7 pixels. We're going to add a background. It's a gray background. So it's going to be D1, D1, D1. Then the color is going to be white. And the padding, we're going to have a padding of 2 pixels from the top and 5 pixels from the side. And now the date, we're going to have a special color for the date. It's going to be a blue color. 2196. We've used this color previously. Okay, let's check it out. Going to reload the page. And it works. With some dummy data, it's the same same data, but it works. So now, whenever we go to a news list, we are calling this card info component, but we are not passing any information. We are not passing any props. So we need to pass first the list of teams, so we can find the one we need. So I'm going to say teams is going to be equal to this.state.teams. Remember that we have it inside the state after we make the request for the teams right here. Okay, what else are we going to need? We're going to need the ID of the team of this particular item of each article. So I'm going to be calling that one team ID. Makes sense? No, just team. And it's going to be inside team item. Remember that we are looping the state of items. And on each item, we want to get the item and then the team. Let me just double check div.json, yeah, it's the ID is going to be inside team. This could be called team ID. Makes a little bit more sense, but I'm going to leave it just like it is. Okay, so what else? We have the teams, we have the team ID, and the next thing is going to be the date. So it's going to be item.date. Good. So now we are passing all the data as props. So we're going to go back to card info, and since everything is inside props, I'm going to do props and then date, and at least we should be getting the correct date. And we do, we get the correct date. It's always the same because I did copy paste for the date, you know, not important, but we are getting the correct one. Okay, so I'm going to go back to card info, and now the important stuff. We need to find the correct name for each team. So we need to create a function that is going to be doing this. I'm going to delete this Cavaliers, and I'm going to create a function. It's going to be team name. This function could be inside config or a different folder inside widgets, maybe called get team name or something like that, because this could be reusable. But since the only place that we are going to be using a team name, we are going to be trying to find a team name, is going to be with card info. I'm going to do it inside this component. Okay, so it's going to be called team name, and this team name is going to need the list of teams. So it's inside props.teams. And the second thing that we need is the ID. So it's going to be inside props and that team singular. Okay, I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to need to create a function that calls team name. And this team name is going to receive 2 arguments, and then it's going to return something. First, it's going to be the list of teams, and then the team. So now what we need to do, we need to try to find this. And with ES6, we have the find helper, so we can use that. So first I'm going to create a variable that is going to be called data. You can call it whatever you want, doesn't matter. So first I'm going to be accessing teams, the list of all the teams, and I'm going to say find, open and close. So on each iteration, we're going to be checking each team on the list after we loop it. And if we find something that matches a criteria, we're going to return that result. So I'm going to say return, because with find helper, we always need to return something. Remember that at the end of the course, you have a complete ES6 course. At the end of this course, you have a complete ES6 section with all the helpers, all the new ES6 features. So if you don't know ES6 and you get confused with this, just pause or maybe stop it and go to the final part of the course and check the ES6 course. So okay, so whenever we do find, this find is going to loop the list, and it's going to try to find something that matches the criteria that we're going to put right here. And if it's finding that, it's going to return that result. So we're going to be checking the item dot an ID. And if the item dot ID, it's going to be equal to the team ID of the article, it's going to return that result, and it's going to exit. So the find always return one result, nothing more. Okay. So now what we need to do, we need to return the data. We need to return the actual name. Now the thing is that if it's not finding anything, we need to return at least something or nothing. So if we say if data, just like that, data, and this is something that you could skip, doesn't matter. We're going to be returning the data.name. So at the end, this one is going to be returning this variable, which is, we could simplify this a little bit, but you know, this is going to work. That's fine. So okay, if we check it right here, and this is the application, our application, we get the name of the team: Cavaliers, then Nuggets, Mavericks, then Warriors, Cavaliers, and Lakers. So it's working. We are getting the name of the team. Everything kind of works. If I click on one, it's going to take us to the article, so that works as well. We do load more, and you know, everything works. Good. So we are done with this widget, with this section. What we're going to do next is going to be the list of videos. So if you notice the list of videos, it's not that different than this one. So we're going to be reusing a lot of the code we just created. So the next video, the next section, putting the next section together, it's going to be a little bit more simpler than creating this one, because we've already went through all the logic of creating a reusable component. So this is going to be much, much simpler. Okay, that's good. Let's go to the next section and do the BDOS one.